Welcome back. Schwizzle crafters are one step closer to getting their products on the U.S. market. A recent visit by a U.S. buyer has renewed their hopes as they seek to bolster their product offerings with the help of Export St. Lucia.
Political apathy is a feeling of disinterest towards politics. It can consist of interest apathy, voter apathy, and information apathy. This includes lack of interest in politics, political events, public meetings, and voting. Some first-time voters in St. Lucia made it very clear that they would not be taking part in the elective process. Former Independent Senator Adrian Auger says the deliberate decision by youth to stay away is worrying and should concern not just those with vested political interest, but everyone.
The sad reality is that some of them are choosing not to be part of the process at all. And that is not a failure of young people necessarily. I would say that is a failure of the political system which has failed to inspire them. And this has been a recurring cry among not only young people, but among several people. I mean, the younger people may be more susceptible to exiting the system and just turning their back because, you know, they haven't got a vested interest. They may not have a mortgage or they may not have a job for that matter. So if they are disinterested in the politics of the country, that's a failure of the politics of the country. That's not necessarily a failure of the young people themselves.
He says what is interesting and may be considered a good thing is the fact that youth may be moving away from the trend of voting where their family votes and making decisions of their own.
I cannot speak for the youth except, you know, what I have gleaned indirectly from having exchanges with a fairly healthy cross-section of young people across the country. But if I were that age and I was coming from a home that had been traditionally one party or the other, and I was educated or alert or aware or enlightened, I would want to break out of the senseless trend that my forebears have maintained, you know, subjectively, without assessment, blindly. I mean, if education doesn't liberate you from that sort of political prejudice, then what's the point? So I don't blame young people for looking on and saying, I don't see anything to vote for, I don't care, which is unfortunate, but it may be very honest.
Auger says political parties need to see youth showing disinterest in the political system as a challenge to motivate them and reel them back into the elective process.
To hear that cry, to hear that as a cry for help indeed, and to see how they as political parties can improve their relevance to the upcoming generations. Failure to do that is going to only perpetuate the in and out of political regimes which we have been seeing for the last 20-something years. No government has been able to secure a second term. The sadness of that should be on the minds of every citizen of St. Lucia, because it is also reflected in growth rates which have not exceeded 1 and 2 and 1.5%.
Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzaga.
Caribcation is excited about increasing access to St. Lucia from regional gateways. On July 8, the destination saw the resumption of inter-island ferry services between Martinique and St. Lucia. 2019 data indicates that the French Antilles accounts for 42% of the Caribbean market and contributes to 8% of global tourism arrivals.
In appealing to the French Antilles to renowned social media influencers, Ellen Serenac and Strong Venus Yoga were invited to showcase the destination to their audience through a curated itinerary which included shopping, dining, and a yoga health and wellness experience. The influencers also had the opportunity to experience some of our top waterfalls, the Mud Bath and Drive-In Volcano, a tour of the waterfront and town of Soufrière, and the craft market in Choiseul. With a love for soca music and the Dennery segment, the influencers got the opportunity to meet St. Lucia's cultural ambassadors and international recording artists Teddy St. John and Frenzy. They also top off their stay with a hike of Fort Rodney at Pigeon Island National Park with Miss World St. Lucia, Tyler Theophane. Trinidad, another major contributor to the Caribbean market, officially reopened its borders on July 17th, and direct airlift from the market is scheduled to commence on August 16th with Caribbean Airlines into George Charles Airport. The The SLTA is working with the airline to promote the flight on island offerings, including accommodation, through a very targeted campaign. The welcoming of visitors bodes well for providers and employees across the industry that are dependent on the Caribbean market and have signaled the reinstallment of service for many. Travelers who have received the single-dose vaccine or who have had the last 2 of a 2-part vaccine administered at least 14 days before entry, upon presentation of proof, will be recognized as a fully vaccinated traveler with expanded access to the destination. In completing the travel registration form for St. Lucia, all travelers, regardless of vaccination status, must pre-fill the travel registration form on stlucia.org/COVID_19 and must obtain and upload to the application a COVID-19 negative PCR test within 5 days of arrival in St. Lucia. Reporting for the Hot 7 News, I am Novita Emmanuel.
The National Commission for UNESCO has partnered with the Department of Education to introduce the UNESCO STEM education program in order to build capacity and train teachers to become master trainers in the areas of robotics, artificial intelligence, and 3D printing for sustainable development goals. More in this report.
The 4-day training, which was conducted in July, had as its main mission to inspire the next generation of world thinkers and makers with accessible hands-on robotics and machine learning experiences, and to increase awareness and understanding of artificial intelligence by making machine learning approachable, rewarding, and most of all, fun. Secretary General of the National Commission for UNESCO, Marcia Symphorian, says the training program is supportive of the Ministry of Education's ICT in Education policy, which builds upon previous initiatives of computer coding and robotics in schools.
The organization believes that artificial intelligence has the potential to revolutionize STEM education through innovative teaching and learning practices which contribute to higher student engagement, enhanced problem-solving skills, new opportunities for learning, enhanced creativity, and the promotion of gender equality.
Curriculum Officer for Science and Technology Gianetti George says the program will ultimately foster an increase in the uptake of these kinds of technologies for solving community challenges and the move towards sustainable development goals. It is intended that the program be tested at a number of pilot schools with the eventual integration and adaptation in the national schools curriculum.
We'd also like to see the promotion of skill development for jobs in this era of AI, artificial intelligence. We want to ensure that there is inclusive and equitable use of artificial intelligence and the knowledge associated with robotics and 3D printing. So we want to see both boys and girls involved in STEM education.
The National Commission for UNESCO has also been instrumental in donating a number of microscience kits for distribution at primary and secondary schools on the island. These kits will support the delivery of science education by providing teachers and students with the capacity to conduct experiments in a number of subject areas, including biology, chemistry, physics, and electricity.
And because they are micro kits, it means that they are portable, they can be carried anywhere, and that we do not need to spend large sums of monies in the purchasing of reagents and other kinds of material that is needed to use the kits. It means that those kits can be used before students go into an actual laboratory. They get to use equipment. They get to work as scientists anywhere.
This is the second installment of science kits received by CAMDU from the National Commission for UNESCO that it believes will be beneficial to students of any age. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development, I am Chris Sackney reporting.
Stay with us. The latest weather report is coming up after the break.